a category system. Each club is categorized category one, two, three, four.
Right.
So Fleetwood Town 2 years back was a category three club. There was a lot of infrastructure that has gone in, and uh, 2 weeks back we have got a category two title. So now Fleetwood Town is an officially a category two club.
Mhm.
So and there's a lot of things that goes behind it. You need to have.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new season of the Sports Law Stage podcast. My name is Tushar Katheria, and I will be the host for today's episode. In this episode, we have a very unique guest for this episode, Shaurya Manchanda, who is right now working as a club secretary at the Fleetwood Town Football Club. And we have an honor to have him in this episode. So, Shaurya, how have you been? And please, and sure, welcome to the new season for the Sports Law Stage podcast, to having a new batch of the guests who are working into the sporting industry. So yeah, first of all, welcome to you on this platform.
Thank you so much, Toshar. Really honored to be here. Thank you for reaching out and conducting podcasts like this, which are just sports centric around law specifically and business, how it happens. So yeah, really pleased to be here.
Yeah, much obliged. And the platform is for created for the people who want to know how the sporting industry work. And so I created this platform. It is just the college project which I started in 21, and now it's and this is the third season for us for now. And we are heading towards, let's see what how the journey that started as a college project, and now we are heading into the third season. So it's been a wonderful journey for us for now. So let's start and let's move on for our first question. So how your journey started into the sporting industry? Because right now you are working at the one of you are directly working with the football club right now.
Yeah, yeah. So since my early childhood, I have always been playing, and I've always been involved in some sports or other throughout my life. It wasn't like I was specifically playing football or something. I played multiple sports, and obviously until 10th standard, I had no clue where life's gonna take me, and I've never planned that I want to be like involved in the business side or the law side of like sports. But the only intention that I always had was I want to be involved in sports. So even in 11th and 12th, just kudos to my parents that they have been so supportive. They were all right. I did not opt for like a mainstream studies option. They said just take it light. If you want to play, play. So unfortunately, I had an injury and I had to switch completely to
Mhm.
the study side. So ended up taking up studies full time. So I remember that even though my intention was always into sports, so I was just mapping out a route in my head that how do I go about it, knowing that I am from a commerce stream.
Mhm.
So obviously I had economics with me.
Mhm.
So back then I thought that I'll take the statistics route and I'll get into sports via sports analytics. Somehow when I pursued my bachelor's in economics,
Mhm.
and while I was doing it, obviously analytics plays a big part in sports nowadays. However, it did not interest me a lot, and while I was exploring my options how to get back into sports, I came across a course which was specialized in sports management. It was like masters of sports management. So I said, yeah, that's the probable route, and that would be a stepping stone and maybe my foot in the door for the sports industry. And since then, I've just been in sports where I've done literally everything sports since then, like even my early childhood. But
Mhm.
since then, I've been breathing for like sports completely. And while I was doing my first masters, I had worked with a lot of organizations,
Mhm.
and one of them happened to be All Indian Football Federation. I was their first league intern that they had, So
Mm-hmm.
while I was working there, I realized how much law plays a part in, like, in an organization, and even like a sport. So that intrigued me, and we had a, like, what you say, course in sports law, which was
Yeah.
basically tax law, which is back in India. And
Mm-hmm.
that intrigued me, and I started uh, researching about it, learn about it. Then I came across a course which was specialized in sports, which was sports law.
Yeah.
And then I went to Madrid to pursue it. And that's it. I'm just been working in sports.
And how is your experience in the ISDE method? Because you did your master from the ISDE. Because a lot of our guests are the alumni in from the ISDE Madrid or from the
Yeah,
Barcelona.
like I wouldn't to be honest, it's one of the greatest platform that one who's wanting to be related to sports law, sports business, because there are multiple courses. So it is the right pivot, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be very mindful of what you want out of it.
Right.
So it is actually a very practical course,
Mm-hmm.
which worked in my favor. So I was never entering with an intention of becoming like a sports arbitrator, or
Mm-hmm.
like being an intellectual property lawyer or something. So it happened to be that we had a batch of 38, 39, and I was
Mm-hmm.
the only one who did not have a bachelor's degree in law. Rest all
Right.
were proper lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously came at it had its own disadvantages, but it had a lot of advantages as well, because I could see a lot more business side of it. And obviously then it's interlinked, it's backed, everything, I would say the foundation is backed by law.
Right.
Like there are legalities around it.
Mm.
So my spectrum of learning grew a lot more. Like, I think I gained a lot out of the course. There must be a lot of students in the class who would have some sense, but for me it was just an absolute treasure. I was
Mm-hmm.
just going all out, learning whatever I could, and that has helped me immensely until now.
Yeah. And what sports do you play into I couldn't ask this question, but what sports do you play in your childhood which really intrigued you and have that interest? Because a lot of the people like us, like you, who are working to the sporting industry, they have their one sport, and the sport is something that's really connect to us. And this is the only, how to say, the driving force for us that really help us out to work into the sporting industry.
I've always been like playing football all my life, but
Mm-hmm.
I was not like specific to it. I've played a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like state for badminton, cricket.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried out, but my main focus has always been football. And I realized it much later that it has to be one sport. But
Right.
I've always like played every sport, like no matter what. So if anybody's playing any sport, I'll just go for it. And
Great,
obviously, all my
great.
life
Yeah.
learnings have been around through sports. I've learned a lot in
Mhm.
my life via sports. So,
Yeah, and your favorite athlete during that time in your child, because every all of us have their one ideal. For me, in during the time in my childhood, Sachin Tendulkar was the one from the
Mhm.
2002. Because for me, when I started following the cricket, because I played cricket at the amateur level, not at the very professional level, but
Mhm.
I did play for it. And for me, Sachin Tendulkar was the driving force for us, because
Yeah.
the way that he conducted himself on the field and off the field, it really inspired to the young athletes from our generation, the millennials and the Gen Y generations. He's the one that he was leading to us.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so for you, who was that athlete at that time?
So I'm a Manchester United supporter and always have been.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, obviously, you have, class of 2002. So my all-time favorite is Paul Scholes.
Post goals,
But
right?
yeah, but I admire Ryan Giggs for just sheer competence, their work ethics, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what has always stuck by me, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what I try to apply in life, is what Paul Scholes said: the hardest way to play football is to play it easy.
Right.
So that has always been like stuck with me, and I think I've been wanting to apply it to my life as well, and that's what I try to do, like just to keep it simple.
Yeah, great to hear about it. That how your journey started from your childhood, from the football, and then working into the right now working into the sporting industry. Speaking of which, right now you're working with the Fleetwood Town Football Club, and tell us about your experience as you are directly working into the football club, and you know much more about it. At how the football clubs are working into it, because you get the lots of insight from it. You are directly working with the athletes, with the key managerial persons who are holding that position, and how
Yeah.
that working, because a lot of us don't know how the football clubs work actually, because we only hear about the transfer needs which we get to know, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a, like, obviously that's the most intriguing and exciting part. Like these
Right.
months where the transfer window is open, everybody is going around. Obviously, it seems that it's very busy, but it always comes down to the crunch days. What happens? But in reality, there goes a lot of preparation, a lot of planning goes behind of actually running a football club. So to be really honest, I'm grateful that where I am right now. I got this opportunity through my um, college SDE only. I was sent to work with Fleetwood as an intern.
Hmm.
So, and I was very specific that I obviously want to learn the legalities, but I want to learn how it's overall administration of a football club. So this opportunity came by, and I just said, okay, let's go for it. So initially, so it could, some days you have like tremendous amount of work where you think that this might not be done in like a couple of weeks, and some days it's easy. But a lot goes behind the match day, a lot
Right.
goes in planning and keeping the players in the same mind, creating an environment. So the role of a, like, the management team is just not on the football field. We see
Hmm.
that is one bit of a management team. It is not
Right.
the whole management team. There's a club secretary, there are operation managers, there's the kit guy, there's the chief executive, there's a media guy.
Right.
So yeah, so the topmost management, which is the chief
Mm.
executive and all, they obviously try and maintain an environment in which each of the individual flourishes.
Right.
So so it is like a funnel. So if the chief executive and the first top level of management keeps the management of the football team, let's say for us right now, the GAFA, which is the manager, is Scott Brown. So
Hmm.
it just boils down, like, it's just follows. So if the top management is keeping Scott Brown happy and he's getting what he's wanting, and he imbibes the ideology of the club,
Mm.
and he's logged into it, then he is able to focus completely on with the players, and he's able to provide a safe environment to them. So this typically happens, which nobody knows or like nobody sees. I'm
Mm.
sure there will be a lot of people who would know, but there's a lot of things that go behind it. How you're managing staff, how you're around people. So obviously there could be times where the manager is asking for something which the club cannot afford, or the
Right.
club wants something else. The club ideology might differ from what the manager wants. So Football Town essentially is a feeder club.
Hmm.
They grow and build player. There, the
Right.
idea is to grow a player, and then a lot of clubs come and take the players. So our emphasis for the last 3 4 years has been that we develop our academy players, and
All right.
recently now, so
Hmm.
uh, Fleetwood Town has invested a lot of money in players development and the infrastructure. So as many, I don't know, like, so there's a category system. Each club is categorized category one, two, three, four.
Right.
So Fleetwood Town 2 years back was a category three club. There was a lot of infrastructure that has gone in, and uh, 2 weeks back we have got a category two title. So now Fleetwood Town is an officially a category two club.
Hmm.
So, and there's a lot of things that goes behind it. You need to have like, it's a checklist of 100 points. You need to have a
Indeed.
door, you need to have a safety officer, you need to have this officer, and it every guy's need, like every personnel in the academy needs to be trained. So there's a lot of, and the investigation and like everything goes on for 2 days for
Mm-hmm.
them to say that okay, you tick box all the required essential things.
Right.
So that also is in itself a job in itself, like, so, which
Mm.
not a lot of people are aware of. So
Indeed.
yeah, and obviously I had the opportunity to establish a sister club for Fleetwood Town. So
Mm-hmm.
I am club secretary of a sister club which is called Fleetwood United in Dubai.
Yeah.
And then obviously I do a bits and pieces around legal stuff back home, like when the player's contract is there, when there's mutual termination, there's a
Mm-hmm.
transfer agreement to look at, because so the negotiation starts at a between the player's agent and the top management. So like a
Right.
lawyer essentially who's in house does not have a lot of say in that. It's just that you take care of all the legalities, protect the club, make sure that the transaction is completed, and that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, great to hear that. How, because a lot of people just know about the bigger clubs who are just having a topmost athlete, but they don't know how the feeder clubs work. And because
Yeah.
because you, right now where you are working, the feeder clubs role is becomes really prominent, because feeder clubs are responsible to giving the talented players to the big clubs. And we saw that how many of the clubs, like there's a club in Portugal, SL Benefica, one time they
Mhm.
had such a great players. And we see that how they are become the one of the supply, the top athlete supplier in most of the European clubs. We saw that
Mhm.
how they work into it, and this is great to know that how Fleetwood Town FC right now working, and they already have their sister club into the Dubai. And we can see that the presence into the Asian and the MENA country is something which is going to be feature
Yeah.
into the upcoming FIFA World Cup. And we will see that how it will be, how the plan out would be for it. Speaking of which, as a feeder club that right now you're working into it, the transfer market is in the full swing right now. We see the Saudi clubs are doing such a humongous business into the Asia, because they are come under the AFC, Asian Football Confederation, if people
Yeah.
don't know about it. So the Saudi clubs, they are play for the AFC. And
Mhm.
how the football clubs plan out their strategy for the acquiring their targeted players, because you are someone who can tell us about the scouting system something, and the targeted players, how we have to acquire from it. Because only one thing that we all know about it, that there's a agent who represent the athlete, and there can be an agent for the football club also who will be dealing on behalf of the football club. And how
Yeah.
for you that the other things which are involved into such transfer deal, especially
Yeah.
when the transfer market open, whether it's a summer transfer window or the winter transfer window.
Yeah. So just talking about, since we have touched upon the topic called feeder club, so
Mm.
how things have massively changed in the last 5 years is, one key element is of Brexit.
Yeah.
So essentially, I was at the right time at the right place, and I'm always grateful for that. So I had seen that transition.
Right.
So the strategies have changed in the last 2 3 years, and
Mm.
obviously there's a blanket strategy that you have, but when the legalities come into place, you have to tweak a lot bit. So s- this is after the Brexit, the feeder clubs have become very important because of
Mhm.
the quotas that every team has and every. So the strategy usually, while you are in the season, you know
Mhm.
where your weaknesses, who is your strength, right?
Right.
So obviously, and to be honest, at the end of the day, it is a business.
Right.
So you have to take wise call, which what would be great for the team. So we have our probables who would be sold, who are
Mhm.
probable list of sellable assets, which are the players, and
Right.
then you have targets where
Mhm.
we are lacking, and if this player leaves, how can we replace him with the same level, or like it depends on the manager's approach to it
Right.
completely. So for now, the because 2021 season was not that great for us. We finished
Mhm.
just on 20th. So we knew, because that was the season we had a lot of injuries and we had to play a lot of our academy players.
Right.
So essentially the strategy changed for the next season, where we said, okay, we have always had uh, what do you say, the like the players who were 21, like squad size is usually 22, 23.
Right.
But since it was COVID and a
Mm-hmm.
few suffered injuries, the football club was hit and the performance did take a dip.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the time when, so obviously there's no transfer window on nothing. So how do you give a solution or have a stopgap
Right.
solution to it? So that was the time when the academy players was promoted.
Mm-hmm.
So over the last few years, we have seen that we are hiring more experience, and
Mm-hmm.
then we are backing it with
Mm-hmm.
uh, like young talents, second year pro, first year pro. So that is a significant shift in the strategy that I have seen in Fleetwood Town, and that you get once you're in the season, while the season is on, and then accordingly you have a target list.
Right.
So you're probably, and you would know that this is a player who might be out of contract and is key and is would be perfect for Fleetwood Town. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it starts. Like there's a lot of strategizing that goes behind it. It's just not like you like a player and you call him. You have to make sure that the player is right for the team as well.
Mm-hmm. Because there are times where the conflict can emerge, because we see how the Lukaku's transfer, and right now he's playing for the Chelsea Football Club, but we see there's a conflict between the clubs with the other clubs also, where they
Mm.
are the potential target, and they are the sometimes that things becomes really bad, and there can be conflict between the clubs as well as with the management of the football club. We see right now how the Kylian Mbappe's issues
That's
come
bizarre.
across. It's bizarre at how, because sometimes they are the athletes, you have to satisfy their ego, and because they are their personal ambitions is something which really driven them to produce more results for them. But we say that there are the certain characters into the teams where you see that they can hamper the morale of the team, and we see that certain issues come into the picture and becomes very public, and it is
Mhm.
very bad for the football clubs because they are trying to do something very unique, but the way that sometimes these things can emerge, and because of these sporting governance principles have to be
Yeah.
evolved every time. And we will discuss further on this into further questions. Yeah, anything you want to edit from for this transfer window thing?
No, obviously, I think with the ongoing ownership that has been prevalent in the top tier of different countries' football, that has changed significantly, and that has just caused a lot of rampant negotiations between clubs. Some mere negotiations are used as a stalking horse.
Right.
So just to obviously price up, and ob- at the end of the day, I would never blame a player. They
Hmm.
understand that they have a very short tenure profession. A
Indeed.
player could play for like a year and be injured, and then a player might play for 10 years and be all right. So there's risk involved at players side also, and they would want to do best for themselves.
Hmm.
And that's how it has become. There's a lot of money in the market now.
Yeah.
So the structure over a period of time of ownership of football has changed significantly
Right.
over since 2008. I would say 8,
Hmm.
12. The big there are a lot of state-owned clubs now, which was
Yeah.
never like thought of. It's not like state-owned, but there's a way around it. But indirectly, they are owned.
Right.
Imagine if you just mention Mbappe. Imagine having a 1 billion deal for a 10-year contract.
That's a very massive deal. Who It's a very enticing, it's a very tempting deal for
Yeah.
any football player. But we also stated how the valuation is correct or not, because that's the major issue. Because you are offering a 1 billion deal, but whether the athlete is very willing to commit to him. Very committed for that project,
Yeah.
because right now how the football clubs are working, they are the project driven football clubs. That's they want to
Yes.
has certain kind of primary targets as well as the secondary objective that they have to fulfill. because there should be a consistent money flow into it. They have to qualify for the Champions League or the
Definitely.
whatever the top club level tournaments which is held into the respective confederations or the state or the members
Mhm.
associations. So these are things which look in which it does make a lot of difference if you are qualifying. Let's take an example from the European clubs and how the Champions League, because if you qualify for the Champions League, you will get a really huge amount for the participation
Parachute
fee,
payment. That's right.
and these are the something which is very enticing for a lot of the club. But we
Definitely.
see that after the emergence of the state-owned football club, we will talk about it later on. But let's stick on with this the another question, because recently, few weeks back, Uttar Pradesh got their first football club, FC
Yeah.
Inter Kashi, and the
Yeah.
way that they are planning out, because they had that vision, because they are the
Yeah.
three international owners which are going to be involved: Atletico de Madrid, and there is Escalades of Andorra and Gerard Piqué own football club FC
Yeah.
Andorra. These
Yeah.
football clubs are going to be involved. Plus, they now it's a duty for the AIFF also to conduct the domestic tournaments, the amateur tournament, which are very essential for that respective state. And how, because right now you are working with the football club directly, and what should be the strategy for the new management we will come into the with the and another jurisdiction country like India, especially UP, because I live in the UP and the majority of the sports that which are be dominated, either
Mhm.
it would be cricket, or we having a very indoor kind of games like shooting events, because we have some of the really good academies right here. We are producing the athletes right now. So
Yeah.
for you, what should be the priority for them?
To be honest, it's great that a new football club that has been emerged, first professional club UP have had now is FC Intrakashi, as you mentioned, and it's going to have collaborations with three international football clubs, and it is great to see that Atletico Madrid is back. Maybe not at the top tier, but somewhere where the football is developed, and obviously the to be honest, obviously, our FIFA ranking wouldn't give you a full picture how football is working in our country, right?
Right.
Obviously, we are, to be honest, we are back at in the 90s, which is 98, 99 now. After
98,
it's
99. Right.
99 and it's after 2018, and the
Yeah.
best rank that we have ever achieved is 94,
Yeah.
and which was I don't know like in 1980 or 1994 something.
Way back. We are not even born at that time.
Yeah, yeah. So things are changing. Obviously, just to make sure that it's in Varanasi,
Yeah.
and it is not actually owned by a UP or someone. It
Yeah.
is backed by a Kolkata group of companies, which is
Yeah.
great. Kolkata being the, I would say, the hub for Indian football. Everything
Yeah.
happens from there. People are so passionate about it, and it's
Mhm.
great to see that it's coming down and people are investing in the project, which is
Right.
very essential, and that creates massive difference.
Hmm.
So until now, if I ask you, obviously you would know, how many players do you know that have emerged from UP?
Hmm.
One is Akash Mishra.
Akash Mishra.
Yeah,
I know
right.
about the
And
Akash pretty well from the, I think, from the last 2 to 3 years, because the
yeah,
how the footballing culture in UP, it's very
mm,
limited. To be very honest, we don't have
yeah,
that kind of infrastructure for now, because we don't have a grassroots program for now. We don't have a really effective scouting system, because a lot of the time you get the players from the local tournaments, and we don't
mhm.
have that kind of infrastructure for now. We have to see that how the AIFF as well as the Interkashi, how they will be develop the grassroots program specifically for the UP, because UP is a state, because we see the summers are really harsh and winters are really brutal,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, absolutely.
and this is the why they have to look at how they have to find the talented football players, the young breed of talent who are either they are playing into these school tournaments, or either they are being associated with any how to say PSUs companies, because they are the some sponsored PSU players
Yeah,
who are representing their respective organization into a very
yeah,
limited amount of tournaments, which are conducted either by the AIFF or by the PSUs only.
yeah, and definitely. And one major development that I could see is
Mhm.
that once you have a professional club in the city,
Yeah.
there's a lot of development around it, because they are
Right.
looking for a lot of things. And then when there's a sporting events which is happening regularly, it
Right.
obviously, I understand the fan base would not be great in the first year. Who knows, it might be like Kolkata. The fan base is massive, right? They
Yeah.
would go for many games, but that might take time. But it obviously evolves with
Mhm.
time. And then you have things that are going on the side. Even a football club is has some obligations to develop the grassroots. They would have
Mhm.
academy set up, so it creates a lot of, what you say, buzz, I would say. And
Mhm.
people might be more intrigued, and obviously that could potentially see us having a lot more players in Indian football team in the near
Right.
future. If i if i may ask you right now, if you see the Indian football team now, it's somewhat scattered. If you
Yeah.
see a few years back, which would be the three, four states that you would say is dominates? It's
Yeah.
Goa, it's
Yeah.
Kolkata, Delhi,
Kerala.
Kerala, and then Middle East,
Yeah.
the Seven Sisters.
Yeah.
And now, if you see, things have massively improved in the last 10 years also,
Mm.
where there are more footballers coming from the Seven Sisters.
Yeah.
So similarly, because in there a talented football player came, and obviously they are also really passionate, and they had that. So the
Right.
Northeast United is there. So there
Mhm.
the buzz is there. Now the Sikkim league was there.
Mhm. Right.
So things are improving massively, but obviously it just started a bit too late
Right.
to say. Like
Mm.
if you see England, there are
Mhm.
9 tiers of football
Yeah.
competitions. 9 tier. With Fleetwood Town sits in the third tier, but there are
Mhm.
9 tiers of football, which is just, like, to think of it is just bizarre. And
Yeah.
similarly, if you see how cricket has developed in India,
Mhm.
their tournaments, like, similar setup. There's so many tournaments, so many setups. Each
Mhm.
state gets a lot of funds and everything.
Mhm.
So I think now with the new president and the
Mhm.
new general secretary of AI football, they have a vision 2047, which
Mhm.
is great. And you have seen that how it has changed after the appointment, that we have a lot more collaborations. Things are
Right.
moving, like, on the outset it feels that, yeah, they are wanting to promote it. And
Mhm.
having someone like Mr. Chaube, who's so passionate, and Saji Prabhan, who's been the president for Delhi Football Association, these guys come with tremendous knowledge and a lot
Mm.
of passion, and they know how it has been working for a while, because they were involved in the system. Mr.
Right.
Saji has been FIFA development manager for our region, so he comes with a lot of knowledge, and things are moving in the right place. Now you have had a few competitions. Santosh Trophy happened in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
So these are obviously, it's because we have been we are growing up while watching the best football, which is the Prem League, La
Right.
Liga,
Mhm.
right? Because the we did not have something to look upon while we were growing, in terms of, like, even ISL just came in recently.
Yeah.
Before that, it was I League.
Yeah, it's been. I think the next season would be the 10th season for the ISL. It's a really
Yeah,
new league, and the way that ISL is set up with the help of the Reliance Industries,
yeah.
FSDL, and with the help of the AIFF.
Yeah. So exactly right. That has come down at a very late stage, and the
Mhm.
development, if I would still say it is in infancy, but it's doing good. It
Mhm.
did got a lot of players who were going to retire. It had
Mhm.
some glitter, but obviously when the sponsor is one, you're
Mhm.
heavily dependent on it, and things have started changing now.
Mhm.
And hopefully, same thing would boil down to UP, like when they have a first professional football club in the state, that
Yeah,
will promote football massively, because they would want it, right?
indeed. Indeed,
Yeah.
and the way that how the the geographical structure in the UP is, because from my hometown, because I'm living in Kanpur, and from here the Varanasi is almost 2 to 3 hours, and
Hmm.
that will be very essential for the people like us who are really interested to watch the club
Hmm.
who is going to be representing the UP, the essence of the UP. If we
Yeah.
capture that, we can have a very massive support system, and just for us, the fan engagement system which have to be created
Yeah.
so that the buzz can be created, because
Yeah.
once we have been producing some results into the matches, the buzz will be created and fan will come, and we see that how the with the Indian football team happen, and
Yeah.
the SAF tournament, and that we recently won the three international tournaments, and
Yeah.
how we see that it's a very jam-packed stadium whenever they are playing, because now the people are realizing that now the team is capable to produce the result into the international
Yeah.
tournament, and we see that there's a very good emergence of the football, especially in India, the way that we are producing result. And also we also listen the news for the Asian Games, and the how they
That was devastating.
that was something which is a very heartbreaking for all of us, because we are really want to see that because of these Asian Games, we can get the opportunity to at least play with the teams like South Korea, like China, like Saudi Arabia, like Japan, who are right now one of the top athletes, because their players are playing into the top clubs,
Yeah.
whether it's in the England, whether it's in the Germany, because a lot of the Japanese players are playing into the German league.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
And
can,
obviously,
yeah.
when you're saying all this, we're keeping in mind leagues of the top tier nations like England, Germany. However, if somebody scouts an Asian Games in Indian, might just take them to Saudi, might them take them to Japan, where the rules are less stringent.
Hmm.
I don't know whether you remember the Gurpreet Sandhu case
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he had to
I
go
know
to.
about he was the first male football player who played in the Europa League.
Yeah, so that even back then the problem was of NOC,
Yeah.
and he had to pave his way. I don't know how.
Hmm.
Obviously, Sunil Shetty was denied to play for
Yeah,
QPR.
that's a yeah, at that time in 2011.
Yeah,
And at that time he's playing for Sporting Football Club into the
yeah.
Portugal, and he was playing with their reserve team at that time.
Yeah. So obviously, since I have been working with an English football club and we have a club in Ireland, so I now have a fair bit of understanding how you transfer player who is not from England, or
Hmm.
like if the club that we have in Europe, which is in Ireland, how do you get a like a player's permission to play in Europe? So obviously, in going via India seems very like difficult. However, if you participate in such competition,
Hmm.
you might get noticed. You might play in Japan, you
Yeah,
might play in Saudi. You're gaining points. Now there's a GCC system which is of points. You have to attain minimum 15 points to play in UK.
yeah,
So while you're playing in India, you're probably going to get two or three.
yeah.
So then, if you're between 12 to 14
Hmm.
points, you can have an appeal.
Yeah.
So, playing in different leagues
Hmm.
across the globe, and because there are six bands in which the leagues are divided.
Right.
So, India comes in band six, unluckily.
Hmm.
So, if someone goes to band three, band four, where there's more likely that they have lenient rules for foreign quota, and if
Hmm.
an Indian goes, it might be, it's a long shot, but it is possible that an Indian could play in the top tier of
Hmm.
football with around the world. So obviously these tournaments is other, probably like a showcase tournament, who knows. And to be honest, with our population, I believe we have great talent, and the weather that we are in, obviously nobody is wanting to take that pain to sign a player, find a route, because
Yeah.
now football is very quick. It isn't like you're invested in the player. Right now,
Mhm.
player has longer contract, not for security purpose, or like it is
Mhm.
just to lock him in and make sure that you make decent amount on him if
Yeah.
you sell. So the assurances have changed. It's become totally, from business perspective, things are changing, and I think we should also change and make sure that we are moving in the right direction and providing
Mhm.
Indian footballers with the best platform that we have. Obviously, you see Sunil Chettri coming out on social media saying that come back us up. That
Mhm.
shouldn't be the case. We should always be just swamped in the stadiums
Mhm.
supporting. So obviously, it will take time where we want to see it, and obviously, when you have a benchmark, you have
Mhm.
certain expectations.
Right.
So obviously, it will take time, but I'm sure India will be there.
Indeed. And in the current scenario, where can we have a potential to play into the in the other leagues if we're talking about that India right now in the band 6,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And
Yeah.
what are the leagues apart from the European leagues? Let's talk about the Asian league where we can play with the players who are going to be play for the in the other clubs, because we see that how the Japan is working, because
Yeah.
Japan that vision, because uh, we see from the 2000 that they were the inconsistency for participation into the FIFA World Cup, and
Hmm.
then they implemented a vision, a project based they applied by their Japan Football Federation, and we ultimately see that they are producing results. We see that how they beat in the Spain and Germany in the
Yeah.
last World, and they are very willing to invest, because earlier the Japan were interested to play into the baseball league, the MLB, Major League
Yeah.
Baseball. Now we
Yeah.
are seeing that their players are playing into the German league. Most of them
Yeah.
are playing in the German league. Some of them are into the Premier League.
Yeah. Even South Korea, for that matter of fact.
South Korea, yeah,
So these are the leagues where obviously can go, but the one apprehension is the culture, and
yeah,
that is a big change, right? But these are the things that come by sports, and every sports person has sacrificed so much.
indeed.
So it would be like, I'm sure like someone like Sunil Shetty, who's inspired generation. I wouldn't say like one
Yeah,
generation. He's inspired
generation.
generations.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be somebody who would take that baton, would do that, would probably show them the route, and things will move. And while Indian football is developing,
Mhm. Indeed. Let us hope for the best, because the way that there's a sudden emergence of the Indian football, we have to keep this onwards, because
yes, absolutely,
once we have that kind of buzz, and then we can have that broadcasting deal that can be really help to influx that cash into our domestic leagues. And once the money come into the picture, once the players getting the money, a decent amount of money, we
hmm,
can see that more players will come up. The this is a very I think in cricket this happened in 1995 when the broadcasting deal case happened, and that
yeah,
money come into the domestic tournament. We see
yeah,
that a lot of athletes come, lots of the cricket players emerges from the towns like Ranchi. MS Dhoni is the very prime example. Although we know that he was scouted by the BCCI, they have this scouting wing,
yeah,
but at least we got such cricket players from the small towns and make such an impact into the global event. And now
definitely,
we know what MS Dhoni has done, and we are bearing that fruits right now. And now we
definitely.
see,
And yeah,
yeah,
even though like, you need to have organizations that support grassroots development, and obviously, cricket being the religion of the country, we don't
Mhm.
have a religion for our country apart from being like following cricket.
Yeah,
So that needs to be inculcated. Grassroots is key factor for developing players, and with the our population, I believe that where we stand in FIFA ranking does not show our true potential. We have talent; it just needs to be scouted properly. Right
indeed.
people needs to be given opportunities, and
Mhm.
we will be there in like to 2047 seems too far, even though
Yeah,
the vision is that. But I do believe that we would be better in the next in a decade or so.
indeed,
Like
indeed.
so.
And the way that the sporting agencies, because I was fortunate to have Abhishek Sharma, who represent Gurpreet Singh Sandhu, and he, because people like them are someone who's not from the very, how to say, not the very legacy kind of the sports person, but
Mm-hmm.
he have that courage to at least make a mark into the sporting agencies. And the way that he's conducting the business, I was fortunate to have him on our third episode of our podcast in the season one. And
Mm-hmm.
he did share about his experience, because we need such kind of people who are, uh, who can invest more, because
Mm-hmm.
he's also do the scouting network for the football athletes.
Yes.
He do attend the domestic leagues, and we hardly see that in India. Sporting agents do go into the domestic tournament in the as well, or into the northeast, or in Bangalore or in Mumbai, to scouting the athletes. And we need such kind of sports agents also. And
Yeah.
because of these things also, only because we see that a lot of changes happen from the FIFA also, in regards
Yeah.
to the FIFA agency. And if anyone want to work with the football player, they have to pass the FIFA agent exam. Now it's
Yeah.
become changed. This is the reason why I'm taking that path, because let's see
Correct.
how it will happen for me. Because I am working as a sports lawyer, but as a football agent, it's going to be very interesting, because I have
Yeah.
to also enhance that skill. Yeah, this is the reason that I have to work on that. But still, it's a really good transition for me also to realize there are certain other elements also, especially in football. There's the scouting report
Yeah.
that you have to make. You have to identify the athletes into the domestic leagues, or into the very amateur leagues, or into the school tournaments.
Yeah, so obviously, just on the scouting thing, uh, who would have? I'm just stepping out of football. Who would have thought just Fleetwood Umrah would represent
Yeah,
India? Yuzvendra Chahal, Umran Malik
yes,
right
yes.
now,
Yeah.
right? These are IPL stars. They were given a platform, and then they just
Arshdeep
took it
Singh.
with their Arshdeep Singh.
Hmm.
Plenty. Now there are plenty.
They are
So
plenty.
similarly, that needs to be done in football. Obviously, IPL is humongous now, but we
Yeah.
have to create a property like that in India.
Hmm.
That's what exactly Saudi is doing.
Yeah. We see that how they are.
A,
Just
lo-
make picking
a
the
lot of
players out. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people would be of very contradictory opinion that they are buying uh, this thing, they're investing so much, but
Mm,
at the end of the day, they are investing to make it like what you say lucrative, and as well as
yeah.
growing their country's image, their
Hmm.
country's sporting culture, and that would take that. And if you have that sort of money and you can invest in that,
Hmm.
that is something that obviously nobody thought of it. Now it is happening. Mm, it's like that is something up for debate. Like somebody would say this is not done, someone would have it's perfectly all right,
Hmm.
but to gain that fandom, the buzz, you need to do
Hmm.
something crazy. Obviously,
Right.
the other route is you slowly, steadily develop through the
Mm,
grassroots, then you provide
yeah.
infrastructure. But like Qatar for now did, the World Cup, they did build infrastructure
Yeah.
which can be used. But if it would have been probably in England, there would be no uh, infrastructure development there because they have
Hmm.
substantial amount of football grounds. Similarly, in India,
Hmm.
when India hosts a World Cup or does a major event, they had to like CWG
Yeah.
2010. That is also a stepping stone in development of sports in India.
Right.
The stadiums were built, the stadiums were refurbished. Some might say some are not getting used, but you can't be just pinpointing one
Hmm.
which is not being used, but the others have been used to their optimal capacity.
Right.
So that what happens.
Hmm.
Even though there's even hosting a major event does a lot of good to the country, even though you will have like a temporary effect,
Hmm.
but it subsides, and then you have the infrastructure where you can grow. Right
Indeed.
now, the Commonwealth, wherein Australia bid for like 3 billion, and now it's gone up to 7 billion, and they have withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that is a major increase, but they were ready to invest that. And Australia in general is a very sports oriented country,
Yeah.
but their economies for some reasons have not been too great
Mm-hmm.
after COVID, so they unfortunately had to withdraw from it. That's what I've read until now. If it changes now, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the infrastructural development is key to develop sports. And right now, if you see the last two Olympics, last Commonwealth Games, when was next last time you heard that India has won 100 medals, 64 medals?
Mm-hmm.
Have done,
Right.
I'm not saying they've done amazingly well in Olympics, but it's better than before.
Yeah.
And that has come after 2010.
Yeah, because I think that started from 2008 when the Beijing Olympics happened. We got the three medals at that time, and then the money which was influx into the Commonwealth Games, because of that money which really helped to get we did identify the athletes who can play into the London Olympics, and we also managed to
Yeah.
back some medals from there. And we see, I know that in the Rio de Janeiro, the Brazil Olympics which happened, we couldn't be produce that kind of result.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what happened at that time, the investment which we made from the 2008, we got that kind of results in the last Olympics. And we
Yeah.
finally we get a medal into the track and field events.
Yeah.
The emergence of the golden boy
Yeah.
happen from there, and we see
Yeah.
the how Neeraj Chopra, because I saw Neeraj Chopra way back in 2017 and 18. Not
Yeah.
saying there was a buzz was into the track and field events in the domestic tournament at that time. And I know that I did have one of the talks with one of the people who know Neeraj Chopra, and he did tell before, I think the just the last night, just before the last day of the Olympics, because the track and field events happened at the last day of the Olympics, and we
Yeah.
having this chat about it, and he did promise that he will produce a really good result. And
Yeah.
we saw that happen, the winning the first gold medal into the track and field event.
Yeah.
It's a very big thing, and now we are seeing that more of the athletes are coming into the track and field event, whether it's a javelin throw, whether it's the sprint racing or the marathon races. We are
Yeah.
seeing the athletes are coming on board, because this is the impact of the sport. If
Yeah.
one athlete perform exceptionally well, we will
Yeah.
get the talented players at the end.
And not just about the medals, obviously that is everyone's aim, but if you
Hmm.
see over the years, the contingent side of athlete is growing.
Right,
So i
right.
i was fortunate enough that I was working with the Indian Olympic Association as a research assistant, a research
Mhm,
intern, wherein I was tracking the qualification marks for each
mhm.
category of sport and discipline. So there's a benchmark to qualify for Olympics that you need to do. You need, like in race, you need to do 100 meters in, let's say, 10.4, 10.8 seconds. Similarly for each discipline,
Right.
right? Back then we were not able to reach that qualification.
Mhm.
When the contingent size is growing, you need to realize that you're meeting the minimum level requirement, which you weren't. I know a
Right.
lot of people would say, "Oh, you're just meeting the minimum requirement," but you need to realize that it is coming with a comparison. There are, obviously it's not uh, everybody's taught you don't need to compare, but you need to. This is something different.
Right.
If you had a contingent size of 80 and now you are having of 160, which means that things are improving.
Indeed, we are seeing that kind of a positive impact,
Yeah,
and we hope that in the upcoming tournaments, especially in the Asian Games, I know that Indian football team won't be participating because of the things which are happen. Because
yeah,
we can have that kind of exemptions from the government also, but
mhm,
the ego battles which are happening into the government as well. This is the reason why I made the post into the LinkedIn, that the sporting governance principle has to be evolved every time, because
yeah,
this ultimately the athletes, the fans, and and the young talented player who are willing to see their teams into the global
mhm,
event, it hampered them. And
yeah,
because of this reason, we are not getting the broadcasting deal. if we does get that, we can see that influx of the money. Let's move on to the next topic because it's a very it become very long for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we see right now that how the Saudi clubs are making the business. They are
Mhm.
acquiring the talents in from the
Yeah.
European region,
Yeah.
and recently we saw so many football clubs in the Europe are getting owned by
Yeah.
the state. They are calling so-called state-owned football clubs,
Yeah.
because we say that how the City Football Group, who are the Abu Dhabi-based company who acquired Man City in 2010-11, and
Yeah.
how they are finally completed the treble. They won the Champions League. We see how Newcastle United Football Clubs, the public investment fund, they acquired that club, and
Yeah.
but they are doing a strategical business because they are become more careful about that, how the independent commission come into the picture and how the investigation is going, and that's a very
Yeah.
separate story. But ultimately we are saying so many football clubs are being acquired by the Middle East companies, and on
PSG.
the other hand, yeah, PSG is something, Qatar investments, Qatar sports investment, who are
Yeah.
acquired, and they are another, we can say, a sister company of the Qatar Sports Investment. They
Yeah.
are acquiring the Man United,
Yeah.
and ultimately we will see that the state-owned clubs ultimately are battling with each other into the
Yeah.
Premier League, Man City and Man United. As well
Yeah.
as on the other hand, we are seeing that American-owned football club, Arsenal
Mm-hmm.
Football Club, who did well in the last season. We have Liverpool Football Clubs owned by the Fanway Sports Group.
Mm-hmm.
For now, Man United are being
Yes,
owned
sir.
by the Glazers, and the other companies like Fulham is also being owned by the American owners. The Tony Khan's father, Tony Khan, ultimately, who is right now operating that football
Mm-hmm.
club. Because we see a lot of tussle, the lot of things which are happening into the European region because of this. How you see these things? Because we have to change. Ultimately, it is happened way back in the 1940s when Brazil
Mm-hmm.
used to be dominated, and
Yeah.
how premier the European clubs, they are acquiring the talents from the Brazil also. At that time, we did see the transition, and how they from the
Yeah.
1970s Premier League clubs are acquiring the talents from the Brazil.
Yeah, I think we have touched upon this briefly about state owned and private owned, and now you're just putting a name to it, which is American based.
Hmm.
So, as I just said earlier,
Hmm.
state owned don't have the agenda of as much as the American based right now. They're
Right.
so I think one thing which was made clear to me while I was entering
Hmm.
sports industry, it was a very like just one line which set me my head straight.
Right.
Like now, sports, first of all, sports is now entertainment. It's not sport anymore. And
Yeah.
sport is a business of vanity.
Right.
So when that happens, things change. Now, people for their pride can go to a lot of distance, would invest. And similarly, now with a lot of investment from the MENA group, which is Qatar, Saudi, then the UAE, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, when a club is owned by backed by such entity which is owned by the state, you have
Hmm.
funds much more than the other,
Right.
right? But you need to see that has led to a lot of development in their own country as well.
Hmm.
Their stakes might be a little higher. They are obviously operating as a business. I'm not saying they're not operating as a business.
Hmm.
They're trying to bring it down to their countries as well.
Hmm.
Qatar hosted a World Cup right now. Like Saudi is eyeing to host one.
In 2030.
Yeah, and then the right now there's a like n number of players who are now moving to Saudi, which will
Right.
obviously these are when you bring stars, when you bring top-notch players to your country, there's a buzz. It intrigues the kids. Then you have academy in place, so that would promote football in that country. Right now, football being number one sport in the world is
Right.
the way to go about it. Who knows, 10 years down the line, we have like maybe five when cricket is booming. Now, for a matter of fact, like there's ML in cricket also, they have a major league in US, which is just
Yeah.
started now. You have got leagues like IPL across the globe now. Pakistan has it. Then in, in our country only we have state leagues.
Yeah.
Tamil Nadu Premier League. Then we have a league in the Caribbeans. Then we have in
South
Australia,
Africa.
South Africa. So this is also an expansion. Right
Right.
now, the focus of uh, football being number one sport is getting a lot more investment by the state owned. Who knows, down the future when cricket is viewed as the number one sport, there'll be a lot of investment in there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I cannot deny when you are backed by such entity like
Mm.
the like literally by a country, you have access to some funds which other clubs might not.
Mm.
And you
Right.
have, if you take a case study for Manchester City as well,
Yeah.
starting from 2011, they have changed massively,
Right.
right? They have gotten laurels across.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, they did not win. They have won Premier League 5 times now. In the
Mm.
last 10 years, PSG has won League One 8 times,
Yeah.
right? Newcastle finished fourth this season, third, which is great.
Mm.
And the season before that, it was almost going to get relegated.
Yeah.
So obviously, it benefits the club as well. But you need to realize that the country is also growing in it, sort of like you obviously say that once it was backed by the Emirati, Manchester
Mm.
City started doing well, and then you bring your team to your home country.
Mm.
Manchester City does uh, come to UAE for a bit,
Off-season training, which they have
and
in the Dubai.
yeah, right. So it is about getting things which is not accessible for from your end within the provided resources. So you have to look out of your country and get in that.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, like back like few years back, I'm not saying that in regard to education, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
us step out of India to get better education. Similarly, that's
Mm-hmm.
the same scenario that you could fit in here.
Right.
I stepped out of India because I did not have a specific course in sports law.
Right.
Right now, I cannot be hell bent that I have to study in India.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar thing that I would put in here. That if your resources don't allow you to have that, you don't have probable players,
Mm-hmm.
then you might have to go to external sources and get that for yourself. So, have you ever seen like now just turning the situation and turning the sport now with cricket?
Yeah.
Does India go out of India to have that? Everybody is now coming to India, right? For them, they
Right.
are taking things back to India to their country
Right.
in cricket spectrum.
Mm.
So obviously, there's some sort of an advantage for state-owned club, but now just putting things into perspective for you, that's my take on it. Obviously some would say there's financial fair play coming in, this that. Now if somebody can afford that,
Yeah.
somebody is able to pay 20, 12, 24 million a year
Mm-hmm.
to get someone who would be the brand ambassador for their thing. Ronaldo is now the brand ambassador for Saudi football, like the sporting federation,
Right.
right? So if that is coming to cost and that is something that you can afford, why wouldn't you? To rather than developing it over 10 years, and if you can do the 10 works job in 3 years, why wouldn't you? At the end of the day, you might be investing same amount of money in there. So you need to
Indeed.
realize if you are investing, let's say 100 mil right now to get
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo here, and that
Mm-hmm.
is a 2 year thing, and he might get you. So you need to realize a lot more other sources of income would also come in.
Right. This is the one of the major thing that what Ronaldo brings. The once you have the top tier athlete into your football club,
Yeah,
because with the Ronaldo, what happened? A lot of the sponsor come into the picture because he had a very exclusive Nike deal.
yeah,
A new sponsor will come with the Al Nassr because their valuation get increased once you have the top
yeah,
athletes in their football club or even in their league. because this really help you out to generate more revenues
Yeah.
for your club as well as for the league also.
Yeah. I wouldn't say there would be a lot of revenue streams, but there would be some streams that would open up, which were not there currently. So
Indeed, yeah, because we see last year who know about the Saudi league in India, and now
yeah,
people are going for the Saudi league from India to watching the Ronaldo, and
exactly.
maybe we will have the opportunity to have Ronaldo into India to play against the in Mumbai against the Mumbai City FC.
In AFC qualifiers, who
Yeah,
knows?
AFC qualifiers.
So this is massive, right? So we obviously see the reflux effect of the thing in the short term. Oh, he's getting paid. They have a lot of money. In the 2 years, they're spending 1 billion. But that's the agenda. They might be spending 1 billion over 10 years, and they've
Mm,
spent it over two. Now they have got some 100 millions as source of revenue, and they are
mm,
investing that 100 million in stages. And when you're a country who is generating a lot of income,
mhm.
and I don't think so that's a problem, right? They're developing it. They're trying to develop it. Might
Right.
not be the, I would say, the orthodox route of developing it through grassroots,
Mm.
but it's an interesting approach of development of sports in their country.
We also have to say because foot this sport has been changed from quite a lot of time from the last 10 years what we saw, and now it becomes a business.
Yeah,
Ultimately it's all about the business. If you're generating profit, you will get the more income from the income
yeah,
generation, the streaming platforms, because we see that digital platform is becoming a very huge thing into the coming future, and we getting a such kind of deal because now the broadcasting deal in Premier League will get changed, and maybe because of the state-owned football clubs, the European football federation, they also look into the how they have to do it, because
yeah,
ultimately they have to bring the European Super League once back, because now they are generating the vote by the UEFA, so that
yeah,
in the next journal meeting, annual meeting which will they have, they will more emphasize it, because ultimately the talents will go wherever they get the more money.
yeah, exactly. And that
This
was the case when before this, if you take an example, everyone was going to China.
Yeah, in the 2015, 2016. But the China project which got failed because the way that, mm, it's become a huge mess at that time.
Yeah,
And
it
because
just got
even at
too
that time,
chaotic.
in 2016 also they acquired some minority stakes into the AC Milan at that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously, they were doing exactly the same thing. Everybody
Mm.
remembers Tevez going there
Carlos
for,
Tevez, Oscar.
yeah. Who knows them now? Obviously, we would say they have ruined their career, but they're set for life. They're players at the end of the day.
It's absolutely
And
fine if
you,
the
you need,
athlete is preferring the money. It's absolutely fine, because there are a lot of athletes who couldn't generate that kind of money,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they want to generate the money in the shortest span of time, because in sports as a career is a had a very short span of the professional life, because after the
exactly.
25 to 35, 36, most of the
Yeah,
athletes, either I'm talking about the top athletes, but if we talk about the other athletes
yeah.
whose career got finished at the early stage at the age of 19, 20, they want to survive. They have to be something for
Yeah,
their survivability, and it's an
exactly,
issue.
exactly. And at the end of the day, you need to realize athletes are human. like
Indeed.
like you are in a job, I am in a job. Our aim is to obviously have a sense of understanding of the job in itself, but apart from that, monetary thing is a tool which keeps us happy.
Right.
There's nobody who's not working for money, right? At the end,
Everyone is working because ultimately money is something which will help you out at the end of the day, because you
yeah.
also have to look for your
It is,
family.
I'm not saying it is like the most important thing, but you need to realize it is
Essential
very
commodity.
important. It gets you
Yes.
things.
Essential
So
commodity. That's the only way
obviously,
that you
there's
have to do.
another perspective to it. How much money would they need? When everybody
Yeah.
wants more money, I've never
Indeed.
seen people who don't want enough of money.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, every fan needs to realize that at the end of the day, an athlete is a human being. He's trying to do best for his family,
Mm,
and where they have come from, they have literally seen no money at their places.
mm.
They are having that now, and they want to do something We have
Yeah.
Sadio Mane, who has done great.
Yeah.
Kante does, you know, things from time and again. So these are the people who would end up being ambassadors of sport, would
Hmm.
promote, but
Indeed.
they're happy at the end of the day. So
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the next question. So because besides on the sports, what other things did you like to do which can really cut you off from the professional world? Because sometimes it's become very hectic for all of us, because sports is something, if you're working into the football industry, we know
yeah.
that during the transfer window it becomes so hectic. And with the
Mm.
transfer window, and what are the things that you do after the very tough day? Because for me, I used to watch any really good movie or anime, or I play game. These are the only thing that I can cut off from my professional world. What are things that you do?
To be honest, like obviously, I love what I do, and
Hmm.
obviously, I evaluate if you have more good days than bad days, you're in the perfect job,
Yeah.
right? And I love what I do, to be honest,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful for what I'm doing. But you obviously do need some switch off. So obviously, I'm away from home. So my first
Hmm.
thing is that just get back to family. So I'll come back, see my parents, my sister,
Hmm.
and that's all about it, my friends. That is one of the things that I love doing it. And apart from that, on a like a regular basis, I just keep myself busy with the being active, playing a sport. Like I picked up paddle when I shifted to Dubai.
Hmm.
So that's all. Like I just I'm a keen learner of sports. I If you give me any sport, I would want to try it.
Indeed.
So that's it keeps me busy, keeps my head away, because then I'm thinking how to play this sport, which is a new sport. So I'm always up for playing sports, and that is my escape, to be really honest.
Yeah, that's the only way, because the way that people don't know, but that they only see the limelight things like that transfer deal that's happened, but they
Yeah.
don't saw that how in the background what are the things that every person who are involved in that deal, who are
Hmm.
working in that deal, how what are the things that they had
Yeah.
done. Yeah, fortunately I did have a this very small chat with Daniel G, who is a
Yeah.
very renowned sports lawyer, and
Yes.
he's working for the Sheridans in their
Sheridan.
sports
Yeah.
division.
He
Yeah,
just did the Declan Rice
Declan
deal.
Rice deal. Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough. So they did a course in my
Is
uh, is no no at IISM in Mumbai. So
Mhm.
they did a 3-day agent course. So I had the pleasure of meeting him there. So he's a really sound guy, obviously.
Yeah, he's someone that, because I'm in regular chat with him, and he's someone that who really, because his book is something, done deal is something which is I
Yeah,
recommend for the people who just want to know about the how the sporting industry,
yeah,
how the football
absolutely.
industry work. His book is something which is very easy to understand, and
Yeah,
it's a starter pack. It's a really good book to start with it, and
absolutely,
you can
absolutely.
go for the very advanced commentaries which you want to read it. But if
Yeah,
anyone want to start, he can go for that book. If the people
can't
who
deal.
will listen to this podcast, go do and check the Daniel G's book, Done Deal, a really good
Yeah.
book. So yeah, yeah. So anything you want to add?
No, just on that, like for anybody who's in sporting world, just be aware of your surrounding and
Hmm.
always just be hungry to learn. That's my like takeaway that I've always followed.
Indeed. Yeah. What
Yeah.
are the let's the next question would be our last. So what are the things that you want to advise to the young professionals and aspirants who really want to work into the sporting industry?
I think I've just mentioned it now, but see, I don't know whether I'm in a place to advise or suggest or something, but I can just tell you from my experience, because switching from economics honors to a master's in sports, then switching into a more niche course.
Yeah.
One thing that I realized was that you need to be really hungry and
Yeah.
really keen to know what you want to do.
Yeah.
I was always like in my head, my idea was never to become like involved in. I always wanted to be involved in football. That was
Hmm.
the agenda. So I just kept on working, making my pathway, and somehow and now I've landed. I'm just grateful for it. But you need to be focused, I would say. Now, if you want to be a sports lawyer,
Hmm.
you do that. So in any which ways, I think the basic learning that sport is, if you want to do great in it, you would have to do something extra.
Yeah.
You cannot expect something different by giving something ordinary each day, day in
Yeah.
day out. You would have to give an extra efforts. So that is something which is relevant in sports business, sports law, anything sports. So
Yeah.
you would have to go that extra mile. If you're ready to do it, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that obviously with my experience, I feel that I have narrowed down my uh, profession. Like started off from economics honors, ended up doing a sports law, and I specialized in between in sports management. If you're lucky enough, like yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you have a bachelor's in law. That is
Yeah.
a generalized professional course. Now, then you dwell into something more specific, which could be the right pathway
Indeed.
and a stepping stone, or maybe a foot in the door into the sporting industry.
Right.
Do a diploma, do something after having a general degree, like do a BBA, and then after that do something in specialized in sports, which
Right.
would come handy. So similarly for you, if you do not, you need to have your foundations right.
Right.
So if you're going into business, you have to have a foundation of a management degree, right? And
Indeed.
then you specialize into your course. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously that wasn't the case with me, but I think that is something that I could have done better. And
Indeed.
since I did not do that, I had
Mm-hmm.
to probably work more. And one thing is just be open to learning. Obviously, belief is one thing that I would say that
Mm-hmm.
everybody needs to have in themselves.
Mm.
Be open to learning, and one like massive help that have happened over the last few years is that I have someone who I can speak to about the industry, about my personal life as well. Is that having someone who you can call your mentor? For me,
Yeah.
right now, is Mr. Dev Kumar Parmar, who was my director in my course.
Yeah.
Like he's available, like he has a lot of work and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
time and again, if I've been stuck, if I have some thoughts, he's always there to listen to me and guide me.
Yeah.
So obviously everybody needs to their own bit, but some
Yeah.
sort of guidance is necessary. So if you crack that, if you have someone who you can speak to, seek guidance, that is really important in this world, because you need to realize that sports industry in itself is a very close knit industry.
Yeah.
You need to network. you
Indeed.
need you have to be guided. Obviously you can try exactly like the same thing, you could do that in 10 years, maybe that effort could be done in for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing in the world that you can't do alone, I would say, right? But little
Mm-hmm.
help is, and some guidance is what you need. So if you find someone who you can look to, who can
Mm-hmm.
guide you, I think you should always stick by them. So for me, for now, obviously his associate Manuel,
Mm-hmm.
he's been great, he helps me out. And my chief executive right now, Mr. Steve Cupboard, who is now the chairman of the football club, he's always there to guide me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I can speak to him about it. And the ex club secretary who was there, which was Richard Cooper, he helped me immensely. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to know that you have to literally be open to learning.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be focused, but you have to be open to learning. You cannot have your blinkers on like a horse and just do what the work is assigned to you. You have to keep your like awareness open, learn what is happening in this department, see what is happening in this department, while devoting your complete focus to what work is assigned to you. But
Right.
don't get too fixated in the work that you're doing that you ignore the other things which are going around.
Mm.
So that
Indeed.
is what I've learned while working in the industry, which has not been long, but I was always open to learning. I was always open to do something new. I've
Mm-hmm.
taken challenges which might not seem to
Mm-hmm.
be very lucrative. Like I remember a few uh, classmates of mine rejected the opportunity at Fleetwood Town because it's a
Mm.
league. For me, it was just an opportunity, and I took that, and touchwood, it has worked out well for me.
Indeed. That
And
actually
obviously,
got really well because now you are into the footballing world.
and always work with sincerity. That's something which goes a long way, I believe.
Yeah, I think this episode is something. It's a really great start for this season. Someone like you who come on board for this episode, and I'm really glad to have you on this episode. And I'm sure people who want to know about it, how there are the other positions also where you can work on it. Whether if even if you're not qualified into the bachelor's in law, because I
Mhm.
did had that opportunity to completed my law my graduation in law, and then I have specified the industry into the yes, I want to
Yes.
work into the sporting industry.
Yeah.
And that's really helped me out. And revolve around the people who are working into the current setup into the sporting industry, something which really helped me out also in my earlier days. In 2020 I get in touch with Rustam Sethna, and he's someone who really, he's such a great guy. He really helped me out in my initial days because he really gave his golden wisdom words to me at my early stages when I was just planning to enter into the industry, and he really helped me out. And
Yeah.
having that kind of people around you, and now I have great people like Professor Tarun, who is right now professor at the GNLU. I am in with touch with Deep Ray, or I'm also fortunate to have him on my podcast. All these people are such a great people, and and having around them really help you out too.
Yeah.
They are the other things that you can learn from them, as
Hey.
well as you can share the certain things which can
Yeah.
also help them also to learn about the more stuff which that revolve around us. Because now I'm also learning about the how to make a scouting report, and in the off season, whenever the other games also into the weekends, I will try to make a I want to start something really different, so
Yeah.
that I can know that there are the other football players also who can also, if someone want to know about it, know about this kind of
Yeah.
players also. So this
And
is
just
a
on, just on Rustam now, because you just mentioned him. So I am indebted to him. I'm thankful to him because I'll tell you why. Because when I got the internship,
Mm,
I did not know how to get into UK.
yeah,
Obviously, you could do it by some other way, go on a
mm,
tourist visa. At that time, tourist visa were also not being handed out because of COVID.
yeah,
So I reached out to him. He was so kind. He led me the way. He kept asking me, following up, are you okay? Do you need any more support? And like, I'm forever grateful to him because if he would have not led me back then, guided me that you could come via this route, which
yeah,
probably might take a bit longer, but that is foolproof
yeah.
way to be in. So if I would have never got in touch with him, I would have never worked at Fleetwood.
Yeah, indeed. And yeah, having these kind of people around you really help us out, who just want to make their mark into the industry. And
Yeah.
because of people like him, people like Jesse Engelhardt, who did really have an impact in my life also, because right now she shifted into the other businesses also.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she is someone, I think from the last year she did help me out in certain things which I have to work on it. And luckily right now working with the new clients who are because I right now I'm involved into the esport also, and it is something which is very unique. It's very exciting right now,
Yeah,
and really
absolutely.
helped me out to also open to the other avenues where you can get the more clients. You can at
Mm.
least learn, even if you have some time, you can learn more things on the sporting world. And this is the only thing that we have working on it, and it's
There,
only the driving force for us.
there will be always two approach to everything. One would be
Hmm.
say so be so focused that you want to be a sports lawyer, do that. But at
Hmm.
the end of the day, if you see top notch sports lawyers are somewhat agents.
Yeah, and that the topmost agents was to be the sports were to be the lawyers, like that Paul Pogba's agent, Mino Raiola. He
I
used to
know.
be a lawyer.
Exactly, right.
Yeah,
So you have to be that what I my approach is I have to be focused in what I'm doing, but I have to be aware of my surrounding and what is going in and around the industry.
yeah,
That is something that I've always kept like as
and
a
that
foundation for myself.
y- yeah, and that
You never know
flexibility
what
really help you out. Yeah.
you never know what opportunity comes your way.
Indeed, indeed. That's the yeah. This is the thing only that I'm keeping myself open into the other avenues into sports, and
Yeah.
really helping me out to understand more about the athlete's perspective, as well as for the people who like, because they are the other people who want to know about it, something really different things, and really help me out to,
Mhm.
because whenever the someone who come on board, I tell them, listen, I need some time, let me do some kind of research so that I got to know about the prefix of some of the things, and then you get to know, okay, these are things that I have to work on it. And
Yeah,
that's only
actually,
where not only it also help you out, but also it helps your clients also.
absolutely. I can't
Yeah,
like
I think this
spot
is a
it.
really great start for this episode. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Shaurya, for coming on board for this
It
episode.
is my
And yeah,
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
yeah.